The rain was falling hard when Park turned onto his street. He walked fast, holding a plastic bag of groceries against his chest. The autumn wind was cold, and he had forgotten his umbrella at home. Again. His small house sat at the end of a quiet road. It was old but clean, with a wooden fence and a garden he never took care of. He had lived alone there for 3 years, ever since his grandmother passed away and left it to him. The neighbors were kind but kept their distance, liked it that way. He worked from home as a translator, and most days he spoke to no one except the cashier at the convenience store. Tonight he just wanted to get inside, eat something warm and sleep. But when he reached his gate, he stopped. Someone was standing at his door. It was a woman. She was very tall, almost 2 meters, and she stood perfectly still in the rain. She wore a long gray coat that looked expensive but strange, like something from a movie about the future. Her hair was white, not but pure white like fresh snow, and her skin, in the dim light of the street lamp, seemed to shine faintly silver. Blinked, he rubbed his eyes. The woman was still there. She turned to look at him. Her eyes were violet, bright and glowing softly in the darkness. Felt his heart jump. He wanted to run, but his legs would not move. The woman bowed her head slightly. "Good evening," she said. Her Korean was perfect but too formal, like someone reading from an old textbook. "Are you the owner of this residence?" Swallowed. "Yes, who are you?" "My name is Lyra," she said. "I'm not from your world. I have traveled a very long distance to be here. My vehicle is hidden nearby, but I cannot leave this planet for 6 of your lunar cycles. I have studied your customs. I understand that humans sometimes share their living spaces with others." She paused and looked at him with those strange, beautiful eyes. "May I share your house with you?" For a long moment said nothing. Then he laughed. It was a nervous, confused laugh. "Is this a joke? Are you filming something? Where is the camera?" Lyra tilted her head. "I do not understand. There is no camera. I am asking sincerely." "You are telling me you are an alien," said slowly, "from space." "Yes." "And you want to live in my house?" "Yes, I will not cause trouble. I require very little. I do not eat much, and I do not sleep the way humans do. I only need a place to stay and a person to observe, for research purposes." Stared at her. The rain was soaking through his jacket. He was cold and tired and very confused. This had to be a prank. Maybe one of his old university friends was behind it, or maybe this woman was mentally unwell and needed help. Either way, he could not leave her standing in the rain. "Come inside," he said finally, "just for tonight. We can figure this out in the morning." Lyra smiled. It was a small, careful smile, like she had practiced it but was not sure she was doing it right. "Thank you. You are very kind." Opened the door and led her into the house. It was warm inside, and the familiar smell of wood and old books welcomed him. He turned on the lights and looked at Lyra properly for the first time. She was even stranger in the light. Her silver skin was smooth and flawless. Her white hair fell straight down her back. She moved gracefully like a dancer, but there was something stiff about her, as if she was always thinking about what to do next. "Sit down," said, pointing to the couch. "I will make tea." He went to the kitchen and put the kettle on. His hands were shaking. He told himself this was all a dream. He would wake up tomorrow and laugh about it. When he came back with 2 cups of tea, Lyra was looking around the room with great interest. She was studying his bookshelf, his old television, the photos on the wall. "Your living space is small," she said, "but it feels comfortable. There is a warmth here that is difficult to measure." Handed her a cup. "It is just an old house." "No," Lyra said, "it is more than that. On my world we do not have places like this. We have structures for function. This place has feeling." Sat down across from her. He watched her hold the cup carefully, studying the steam rising from it. She took a small sip and her eyes widened. "This is pleasant," she said. "What is it called?" "Green tea." "Green tea," she repeated, like she was saving the words somewhere in her mind. They sat in silence for a while. The rain tapped against the windows, was still waiting to wake up. "If you are really from space," he said at last, "prove it." Lyra nodded. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small metal object, no bigger than a coin. She placed it on the table between them. Then she touched it gently with one finger. The coin rose into the air. It floated there, spinning slowly, glowing with soft blue light. Then it split into a dozen tiny pieces, each one circling around the others like planets around a sun. They moved in perfect, impossible patterns. "Forgot to breathe." Lyra touched the coin again, and the pieces came back together. It fell gently onto the table. "Do you believe me now?" she asked. Looked at her. His mouth was dry. His mind was empty. The world he knew had just broken into pieces, just like that coin. "Yes," he whispered, "I believe you." Lyra picked up her tea again. "Then may I stay?" Did not know why he said yes. Maybe he was too shocked to say no. Maybe some part of him, the lonely part that he never talked about, wanted someone in this empty house. Or maybe he just could not turn away someone who looked so lost. "Yes," he said, "you can stay." And that was how everything changed. The first week was strange. Lyra kept her promise. She did not cause trouble. She was quiet, polite, and mostly stayed out of his way. But she watched everything. She had a small device like a thin glass tablet, and she wrote notes on it constantly. She wrote notes when made breakfast. She wrote notes when he worked on his computer. She wrote notes when he watered his houseplants and talked to them softly, telling them to grow well. "Why do you speak to the plants?" she asked one morning. "They cannot understand you, they have no brain." Shrugged, "I know, but it makes me feel less alone. And some people say plants grow better when you talk to them." Lyra wrote something on her tablet. "Humans form emotional connections with things that cannot respond. Interesting." Poured water into the pot of a small fern. "Do your people not do this?" "No," Lyra said. "We removed such behaviors long ago. They were considered inefficient." Looked at her. "That sounds sad." Lyra tilted her head. "Sad? I do not understand. It was logical." Every day brought more questions. Lyra wanted to know why he kept old photographs of people who had died, why he watched comedy shows alone and laughed even though no one was there to laugh with him, why he called his mother every Sunday and talked about nothing important for 20 minutes. "You gain no practical benefit from this call," Lyra observed after one such conversation. "You exchanged no useful information. You simply repeated that you are well and that she should eat properly. Why do you do this?" Put down his phone. He thought about it. "Because it makes her happy to hear my voice, and it makes me happy to hear hers. That is the point." "Happiness from sound alone," Lyra murmured, "from the voice of someone far away." She wrote on her tablet for a long time. Slowly got used to her presence. It was not unpleasant. She was clean and organized. She did not need to eat much, only some water and occasionally fruit, which her body could process. She did not sleep at night, but instead sat very still for a few hours, her eyes closed, resting in some way he did not understand. And she was useful. When struggled with a difficult translation project, Lyra offered to help. She could read and understand any language in seconds, thanks to the technology in her mind. She explained grammar rules he had forgotten and suggested better words. When his old washing machine broke, she fixed it in 10 minutes using tools she made from that strange floating coin. "Thank you," said, genuinely surprised. "You did not have to do that." "You gave me shelter," Lyra said. "It is fair to give something in return. This is how exchanges work." "That is not why I let you stay," said. Lyra looked confused. "Then why?" "Thought about it. Because you needed help. That is enough reason." Lyra stared at him for a long moment. Then she wrote something on her tablet, but this time her hand moved slowly, like she was not sure what to write. As the weeks passed, their conversations grew deeper. Lyra asked about love, about friendship, about grief. She asked why humans cried at movies about people who were not real. She asked why Still kept his grandmother's old sweater in his closet, even though it was too small for him and smelled like dust. "Because it reminds me of her," he said quietly. "When I touch it, I remember how she used to hug me. It is like she is still here a little bit." "But she is dead," Lyra said. "She cannot come back." "I know," smiled sadly. "But memory is powerful. It keeps people alive in our hearts even when their bodies are gone." Lyra was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. "My people do not keep memories like this. When someone dies, we delete their records. We move forward. We believe looking back is wasteful." "And how does that feel?" asked. Lyra did not answer immediately. She looked out the window at the autumn leaves falling. "I do not know," she admitted. "I never thought to ask myself that question." One night made for dinner. It was nothing special, just instant noodles with egg and vegetables. But when he gave a bowl to Lyra and she tasted it, her eyes went wide. "This is wonderful," she said. "The warmth, the flavor, the texture, it creates a feeling of comfort." "It is just cheap noodles," laughed. "No," Lyra said seriously. "It is more than that. You made it with care. You added things to make it better. This is not just food, this is kindness in physical form." Felt his face grow warm. No one had ever described his cooking that way. They ate together in comfortable silence. Outside, the wind blew cold, but inside the kitchen was warm and bright. Later that night, Lyra sat by the window, was reading a book nearby. The house was quiet except for the ticking of an old clock. Lyra said suddenly, "May I tell you something?" He looked up, "Of course." She was quiet for a moment, gathering her words. "My people are dying, not from war, not from disease. We are simply fatting. For generations, we removed emotions because we thought they made us weak. We stopped forming bonds. We stopped caring about each other. We believed efficiency and logic were enough." She turned to look at him. Her violet eyes were dim, almost sad. "But without connection, we lost the will to live. Our birth rates dropped to almost zero. Our elders choose to end themselves rather than continue. We have all the technology in the universe and we are still disappearing." Closed his book, his heart felt heavy. "That is terrible." "I was sent here to study humans," Lyra continued, "to find out why you survive, why you keep going even when things are hard, even when you lose people, even when life hurts." She looked down at her hands. "I think I am beginning to understand." "What do you understand?" asked gently. Lyra looked at him with something new in her eyes, something that might have been hope. "That feeling is not weakness," she said. "That caring about others, even when it causes pain, is what makes life worth living. Your people understand this. Mine forgot it." Did not know what to say, so he did what felt right. He stood up, walked over to her and sat down beside her at the window. "You are learning," he said softly. "That is a start." Lyra nodded. For the first time since she arrived, she did not write anything on her tablet. She just sat there beside him, watching the stars through the window. And for the first time in years, did not feel alone. By late autumn, Lyra had become part of daily life. She still asked strange questions. She still wrote notes on her tablet. But now she also helped with cooking, even though she often burned things. She learned to fold laundry, though she folded everything into perfect squares like a machine. And sometimes in the evenings, she sat with and watched television, asking questions about the stories and the people in them. But knew she could not stay hidden forever. The world was outside, and eventually she would have to see it. "I want to take you somewhere," he said one Saturday morning. "The local market. It is not far. You can wear a hat and long sleeves. Your skin can be explained as a condition. Many people have unusual skin." Lyra looked uncertain. "Will the other humans accept me?" "They will not even notice you," promised. "People are busy with their own lives, trust me." So they went. The market was crowded and colorful. Vendors sold vegetables, fish, clothes, and hot food. The smell of frying pancakes filled the air. Old women argued about prices. Children ran between the stalls, laughing. Lyra walked slowly, looking at everything with wonder. She touched the rough skin of a pumpkin. She listened to a vendor singing about his fresh tofu. She watched two old men playing a board game in front of a shop, slapping the pieces down with loud shouts. "This is chaos," she said. "It is loud and messy and inefficient." "Yes," agreed, "but look at their faces, they are happy." Lyra looked. The vendors were smiling. The customers were laughing. Even the arguing women seemed to enjoy their argument. "They find joy in the chaos," she murmured. "They find connection in the mess." "Exactly." They bought some sweet potatoes and walked through the market slowly. No one stared at Lyra. No one questioned her. She was just another person in the crowd. Near the end of the market, stopped at a small stall run by an elderly woman. She sold handmade rice cakes and pickled vegetables. Her name was Mrs., and she had been his neighbor for years. Mrs. called out, her wrinkled face breaking into a warm smile. "It has been too long, and who is this? A friend." "This is Lyra," said. "She is staying with me for a while." Mrs. looked at Lyra with curious but kind eyes. "Welcome, dear. You are very tall and such pretty eyes. Come, try my rice cakes, free for friends." She pushed a small plate toward them. Lyra took a rice cake carefully and bit into it. Her eyes widened. "This is delicious," she said sincerely. Mrs. laughed with delight. "I like her. Bring her to my house sometime. I will teach her to make kimchi. A young woman should know how to make kimchi." Lyra bowed politely. "I would be honored to learn." As they walked home, Lyra was quiet, glanced at her. "Are you okay?" "That woman," Lyra said slowly. "Mrs., she does not know me. We only spoke for a few minutes, but she offered me food, invited me to her home, and said she liked me." "Why?" Smiled. "That is just how she is. She is kind to everyone." "But why?" Lyra pressed. "What does she gain?" "Nothing," said. "She is kind because kindness makes her happy, because making others feel welcome gives her joy. She does not need a reason." Lyra fell silent again. She seemed to be processing something deep and difficult. Over the following weeks, they visited Mrs. several times. True to her word, she taught Lyra to make kimchi. She told stories about her late husband, a fisherman who had died 10 years ago. She showed Lyra old photographs and cried a little, then laughed and said crying was good for the soul. "You are like a granddaughter to me now," Mrs. said one day, patting Lyra's hand. "Come visit any time. My door is always open." Lyra did not know how to respond. Later on the walk home, her eyes were wet. "I think this is crying," she said, touching her cheek. "I have read about it but never experienced it. Why is this happening?" "Because you felt something," said gently. "Something real, maybe for the first time." That night, something else happened. Lyra's tablet made a sound, a sharp, cold tone. She looked at it and her face went pale, or as pale as silver skin could go. "What is wrong?" asked. "A message," Lyra said quietly. "From my people. They want my report. They want to know what I have learned about humans. They want data." "And what will you tell them?" Lyra was silent for a long time. She stared at the message, at the cold symbols of her language. Then she looked around the room, at the old photographs on the wall, at the worn couch where she sat every evening, at the kitchen where she had learned to cook, at the plant in the corner that she had started talking to, even though she still thought it was illogical. "My people want to know if humans can be useful to them," she said slowly. "They want to know if Earth has resources worth taking. They do not care about your kindness. They do not care about your emotions. They only care about what they can use." Felt a chill run down his spine. "And what will you tell them?" Lyra looked at him. Her violet eyes were bright with something new, something fierce. "If I tell them the truth, they might come here. They might take what they want and leave your world empty. They have done it before to other planets. Then do not tell them the truth. Lyra shook her head. That is not how my people work. We do not lie, we report facts, always. Then what will you do? Lyra stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the dark sky. The stars were bright tonight, and somewhere up there was the ship that had brought her here. There is another option, she said. I can send no report at all. I can delete the data I collected. I can tell them only that more time is needed. Will they accept that? No, Lyra admitted. They will be angry, they may punish me, they may send someone to bring me back. She turned to face him. But I cannot let them hurt this world. I cannot let them hurt the people here. Mrs. the vendors at the market, you. Her voice cracked on the last word. Stood up and walked over to her. You are choosing to protect us. Yes. Even though it might cost you everything. Yes. Lyra smiled, a real smile this time, not practiced. I think this is what humans call love. Not romantic love, but something deeper. Care for others even when it hurts, even when it is illogical. She picked up her tablet. Her fingers moved quickly, deleting files, erasing data. Then she typed a single message and sent it. What did you write? Asked. Further study required, indefinitely. She turned off the tablet and set it down. For a moment she just stood there breathing. Then did something he had not planned. He stepped forward and hugged her. She was stiff at first, uncertain. But slowly she relaxed. Her arms came up and wrapped around him. They stood like that for a long time in the quiet house, under the cold stars. Thank you, whispered. No, Lyra said softly. Thank you for showing me what my people forgot. Winter came hard and fast. Snow covered the streets and rooftops. The trees became bare skeletons against the gray sky. His old house grew cold, so he brought out extra blankets and kept the heater running all day. Life had found a quiet rhythm. Lyra helped with his translation work. They cooked meals together, usually simple things like soup and rice. In the evenings, they sat by the window and watched the snow fall while drinking hot tea. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence. But the peace did not last. One evening, as was preparing dinner, Lyra suddenly stood up from the couch. Her body went rigid. Her violet eyes glowed brighter than usual. They are here, she said. Turned off the stove. Who? My people, a retrieval team, 2 officers. Her voice was steady, but there was fear underneath. They have landed nearby. They are coming for me. Before could respond, there was a knock at the door. It was not a normal knock. It was 3 slow, heavy sounds like metal striking wood. Lyra moved toward the door, but stepped in front of her. Let me, he said. You do not understand. They are dangerous. They will not hesitate to remove you if you are in their way. This is my home, said firmly. No one removes anyone from my home. He opened the door. 2 figures stood outside. They were tall like Lyra, but their skin was darker, a deep gray instead of silver. Their eyes glowed cold blue. They wore black armor that seemed to absorb the light around them. Everything about them looked sharp and lifeless. You are the human designated as the host, one of them said. It was not a question. Step aside. We are here for the researcher designated Lyra. Did not move. She does not want to go with you. The 2 officers looked at each other. Their faces showed no emotion, no reaction. Her desires are not relevant, the second one said. She has failed to complete her mission. She has data. She is considered defective. She must return for correction. Correction's voice was hard. What does that mean? Her emotional responses will be removed. Her memories will be deleted. She will be to function properly. Felt sick. They were talking about destroying who Lyra was, everything she had learned, everything she had become. No, he said. The first officer tilted his head. You refuse. You are a single human. You have no weapons, no power. You cannot stop us. Why do you resist? Because she is my friend, said simply. She is family now, and I do not let anyone take my family. The officers stared at him. For a moment there was silence, only the cold wind and the falling snow. Friend, the second officer repeated like the word was foreign to him. Family, these are emotional designations. They have no practical value. They do not change the situation. They change everything, said. He stood his ground. He knew he could not fight them. He knew they could move him aside with one hand, but he refused to step back. Some things were more important than being safe. The first officer moved forward. His hand reached for his shoulder. But before he could touch him, Lyra stepped between them. Stop, she said. Her voice was different now, stronger, full of authority. I am the one you came for. You will deal with me, not him. The officers paused. You have become compromised, the first one said. Your behavior is irrational. You are protecting a primitive species that offers you nothing. This confirms our assessment. You are defective. No, Lyra said. I am not defective. I am awake. For the first time in my existence, I am truly awake, and I will not go back to sleep. She stepped closer to them, her eyes blazing with violet light. You call humans primitive, but they understand something we forgot. They know that life without connection is not life at all. They cry when they lose someone because that someone mattered. They keep photographs and old clothes because memory is precious. They share food with strangers because kindness needs no reason. Her voice rose, filled with emotion she had never shown before. Our people are dying. We chose to remove our hearts, and now we are hollow. We have the technology to cross galaxies, but we cannot make a child laugh. We can destroy worlds, but we cannot comfort a friend. We have everything and we have nothing. She pointed at, this human let me into his home when I was a stranger. He fed me. He talked to me. He taught me what it means to care about something other than myself. In 2 months, he gave me more than our entire civilization gave me in 200 years. The officers were silent. Something flickered in their cold eyes, something like confusion. You can take me back, Lyra continued. You can delete my memories. You can reprogram my mind, but you cannot erase what I have learned, and you cannot stop the truth. Our people are not dying because we are weak. We are dying because we chose to stop living. The first officer finally spoke. If you refuse to return, you will be marked as exile. You can never go home. Your name will be erased from all records. You will be nothing. Lyra smiled. It was a sad smile, but also brave. I am already home, she said, and I am not nothing. I am someone who finally learned to feel. The officers looked at each other. For a long moment they stood motionless. Then, without another word, they turned and walked away into the falling snow. Their dark forms faded into the white until they were gone. Lyra watched them disappear. Then her legs gave out, and she fell to her knees in the doorway. Dropped beside her, Lyra, are you okay? She was shaking, and then for the second time in her life she began to cry. Not soft, quiet tears like before, deep, heavy sobs that shook her whole body. I can never go back, she whispered. My people, my world, my history, it is all gone. I am alone. Put his arms around her. He held her tight as the cold wind blew and the snow fell around them. You are not alone, he said softly. You have me. You have Mrs. You have this house, this neighborhood, this world. You have a new home now. Lyra cried harder, but somewhere in those tears there was also relief. The weight of her old life was falling away, and something new was beginning. They stayed like that for a long time, kneeling in the doorway while winter covered the world in white. Finally, Lyra looked up. Her eyes were red, but there was light in them. Thank you, she said. For standing in front of me, you could have been hurt. Shrugged, you would have done the same for me. Lyra thought about it, then she nodded slowly. Yes, she said, I would have. And in that moment, they both knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Spring came slowly, like a shy guest afraid to enter. First the snow melted. Then green appeared in the cracks of the sidewalk. Then the cherry trees along the street began to bloom, filling the air with soft pink petals. Opened the windows of his house for the first time in months. Fresh air flowed through the rooms, carrying the smell of flowers and wet earth. Lyra stood at the kitchen counter trying to make pancakes. She had been practicing for weeks, but she still burned them more often than not. The stray cat she had adopted, a fat orange tabby she named, sat at her feet, hopping for dropped food. "You are supposed to flip it sooner," said, watching from the table. "I know," Lyra muttered, "but the timing is difficult. Your human cooking is more complex than spacecraft engineering." Laughed. It was a sound that came easily now, after months of having her around. Life had changed. Lyra no longer wore hats and long sleeves when she went outside. The neighborhood had accepted her, one person at a time. Mrs. told everyone that Lyra had a rare skin condition, and that was enough for most people. A few children stared at her silver skin, but children stared at everything. Lyra learned to wave at them, and they waved back. She had become part of the community. She helped Mrs. sell rice cakes at the market on weekends. She fixed broken appliances for the neighbors using her alien technology, which she explained as new foreign tools. She even joined a book club for elderly women, though she had to pretend she had not read every book in the world already. "You have become popular," observed one evening. Lyra smiled. "I have become useful, it is different." "No," he said, "they like you. They invite you for tea and tell you their problems. That is not usefulness, that is friendship." Lyra considered this. "Perhaps you are right, it is still strange to me. On my world, friendship was considered inefficient. Here, it seems to be the most important thing." "It is," said simply. Spring grew warmer. The cherry blossoms reached their peak, turning the streets into tunnels of pink and white. Suggested they have a picnic in the small park near his house, and Lyra agreed enthusiastically. They spread a blanket under the biggest cherry tree. Mrs. came too, bringing her famous rice cakes and a thermos of sweet tea. The cat came in a small carrier, looking annoyed but accepting his fate. They ate and talked and watched the petals fall like gentle snow. Other families sat nearby, laughing and taking photographs. The air was warm and sweet. "I never imagined this," Lyra said quietly. "What do you mean?" asked. "This moment, this peace. When I first came to Earth, I thought I was here to study humans like specimens in a laboratory. I thought I would observe, collect data, and leave. I never imagined I would become part of something." She looked around at the families, the children playing, the old couples holding hands. "I never imagined I would have friends, a home, a cat," she laughed softly. "I certainly never imagined I would spend my afternoons learning to make pancakes badly." Mrs. patted her hand. "Life surprises us, dear, that is the best part." Later, as the sun began to set and the sky turned orange and gold, and Lyra walked home together. The streets were quiet. A few petals still floated in the air. "Can I ask you something?" Lyra said. "Of course." "That first night when I appeared at your door in the rain, why did you let me stay? You did not know me. You had every reason to be afraid, but you invited me inside. Why?" Thought about it. He had asked himself this question many times over the past months. "Honestly, I do not know," he admitted. "Maybe I was too tired to think clearly. Maybe I thought it was all a dream, but I think—" He paused, searching for the right words. "I think I saw someone who needed help, and I remembered all the times I needed help and no one came. I did not want you to feel that way." Lyra was quiet for a moment, then she spoke softly. "I also have a confession." "What is it?" "That night I was afraid, more afraid than I have ever been. My ship had malfunctioned. I was stranded on a strange world with strange creatures. Everything I knew told me that primitive species were dangerous and unpredictable." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "But you gave me tea. You let me sleep on your couch. You asked me about my world without fear, only curiosity. In that one night, you showed me more kindness than I had received in my entire life." Her violet eyes shimmered in the fading light. "You saved me not just from being stranded. You saved me from becoming like my people, cold, empty, dead inside. You reminded me that there is another way to live." Felt his chest tighten. He did not know what to say. "So did you," he finally managed. "Before you came, I was alone in that house. I worked, I ate, I slept, but I was not really living. You reminded me that connection matters, that caring about someone is worth the risk." They looked at each other under the cherry trees, surrounded by falling petals. "We saved each other," Lyra said softly. "Yes," agreed, "I think we did." They continued walking, side by side. The house appeared at the end of the street, its lights glowing warm through the windows, meowed impatiently from his carrier. As they reached the front gate, Lyra paused and looked up at the stars that were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "Somewhere up there my people are still fatting," she said, "still choosing logic over love, still dying slowly because they forgot how to feel." "Do you miss them?" asked. Lyra considered the question carefully. "I miss who they could have been. I grieve for what they lost. But I do not regret my choice. This world, this life, these people, they are worth more than all the empty efficiency of 1,000 dying civilizations." She turned away from the stars and looked at the small, ordinary house in front of her. "Among the stars my people conquered worlds," she said quietly. "But it was here in this small house on this unremarkable planet that I finally learned to live." Smiled and opened the gate. "Welcome home," he said. Lyra smiled back, a real full smile, not practiced or careful, just pure, simple happiness. "Thank you," she said. "It is good to be home." They walked inside together, into the warmth and light, was set free and immediately jumped onto the couch. The smell of burnt pancakes still lingered in the kitchen. Through the window, cherry blossoms drifted like pink stars falling gently to earth. Outside, the universe continued its vast, cold turning. Stars were born and died. Empires rose and fell. Species came and went like waves on an infinite shore. But inside the little house, none of that mattered. What mattered was the tea brewing on the stove, the cat purring on the cushion, the two souls who had found each other across the darkness of space. What mattered was home. And for Lyra, after 200 years of searching, she had finally found it.